Everyone knows a pot roast. Fall off the bone meat, tender root vegetables, a delectable gravy-like sauce. A simple old-fashioned pot roast is just one of those things that every cook should have under their belt. And honestly, it's not as hard as you might think. Before you start making your pot roast, you're gonna have to know what kind of meat to buy. This is your chuck roast. It is boneless, it is not tied. This is about 3.5 pounds, and you'll want like a 3.5 to 4.5 pound for this particular recipe. So you see this marbling, you see all of these little bits of delicious fatty flavor throughout the entire meat, which when it is cooked in a moist environment for a long period of time, will dissolve and create really tender, fall off the bone, melt in your mouth pot roast. We don't need to cut this, we just need to leave it as its whole beautiful self, but we'll pat it dry and season it. We want to let it sit for about 30 minutes so that it comes up to room temperature. We want to make sure that it is dry so that the salt sticks to it and really penetrates the meat. You will want about a teaspoon of salt per pound of beef. So this is a 3.5 pound chuck roast, so we'll need about a tablespoon and a half of salt. You want a nice even coating. You use way more than you think. Now pepper too. Pepper's just kind of however much you want. This guy has sat for about 30 minutes as directed. You can see some business is happening with the salt. It's kind of soaking into the meat. You can see it's already starting to disappear. Paper towels removed. Let's dredge this guy in flour. It's gonna be in the oven for about 2 hours before we add our vegetables. So this flour is going to cook and dissolve and really thicken up our gravy. This is enameled cast iron. It is a beautiful Dutch oven. This baby is going to both sear your meat and cook it. So it's a one-pot deal, but also it's gonna allow for liquid evaporation and really get that gravy in a beautiful, luscious spot. I think we're getting pretty warm here. Let's add a little bit of oil. Let's get our meat in. We've been searing this undisturbed for about 5 minutes. So let's check on it, see how we're doing. So that flour has started to caramelize. You've got kind of a nice crust on there, and you've got a really beautiful golden brown. That is what you are looking for. And you're just gonna do it for another 5 minutes on this side. Money, money, money. Well, let's just take him out. Ooh. I have here some marsala. This is what you're gonna use to deglaze your pan. Oh, yes. So when you deglaze your pan, it's gonna obviously be a liquid, but mainly use a flavorful acidic liquid. So now we're going to add some sliced garlic, a bay leaf, some fresh thyme, and my personal favorite, some Dijon mustard. We're gonna stir these around. Gosh, that smells even better than it did before. Now we're going to make a faux rack, but we'll also season our gravy. It's kind of like going double duty here. We have sweet onions that we have cut in half crosswise. So they're in half this way. We're gonna put them just cut side down and then rest our meat on top of the onions. I'm gonna put this in the oven at 300 degrees for about 2 hours before I add the rest of the vegetables. A pot roast is not a real pot roast without extra vegetables, like root vegetables. We've got potatoes and carrots here. We're gonna prep them while the pot roast is in the oven, so that way we're just being efficient with our time. Let's peel our carrots. We've got a pound of carrots here. You can save these if you are cool and compost. Shout out to all you composters out there. Woo-hoo. We've peeled our carrots, now we'll cut them into about 1 to 1.5 inch pieces. You want them to be larger because they're gonna be cooking with the roast for an hour or an hour and a half. Now onto potatoes. These are gonna be a little less complicated. We're just gonna cut them in half. I'll just put them in our bowl and wait for our roast to come out of the oven. Let's check on it. Ooh! It's time to add our vegetables that we just prepped. So we're gonna scatter them around. And now we cover this bad boy up again and let them sit back in that oven for another hour and a half. Check on it. Oh, look at her. It looks like my gravy is a little on the thinner side. Did I royally screw up? The answer? No, everything's savable. So a way to get it to where you want it to be and kind of glaze your meat would be to bring it back up to a boil once we remove our stuff. Everything's cooked, so let's transfer it to a platter. Your meat might come out in pieces, and that's totally cool too, because you're gonna serve it in pieces. So you can see my gravy is just a little on the thin side. Since I wanna use all of this sauce, since I've got a lot of meat to cover, I'm gonna thicken this with a slurry. I don't wanna reduce it so that there's not a whole lot of sauce left. Slurry, as I've talked about in other episodes of this show, you should go back and watch, but it is a mixture of starch and liquid. I'm gonna use just a little bit of water here and a little bit of cornstarch. You can use flour and you can use broth or cream or whatever it is you wanna use. I'm just gonna use a little bit of water. So I have a little bit of water, a little bit of cornstarch. Mix those together. You wanna use about a 1-to-1 ratio. You want your mixture or your sauce to be boiling when you add your slurry. Season this however you'd want to, maybe a little bit more salt, maybe a little bit more pepper. You can style up your dish however you want. Put some more thyme in there, have it look all pretty. Now we just put our sauce on top. Once you've mastered the classic, you'll impress your friends and family with anything you make in the kitchen. Comment below on how you like to cook your pot roast. Thanks for watching.